Welcome back to Born to Scale. I'm so excited today because I'm joined by the amazing Garrett, who is a phenomenal videographer and a social media producer whom I work with on some projects and some clients. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you
And
for having
welcome,
me.
Garrett.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for being here and making time for me. And I hope that this can be the first of many episodes we can do in the future on marketing and marketing trends. I specifically wanted to bring you on the show because I look up to you on your knowledge on visual technology, gear, AI, and some of the trends that are happening in the social world. And I know that you help a ton of clients that generate 6, 7, 8 figure revenues. So I want to understand your journey. So I want to start with the question. Tell me about your journey over the years with videography, and what do you think is happening in the world today with all the reels and everyone trying to go viral?
Yeah, great question on that. My journey wasn't exactly linear, you see. I kind of just started what at the time was this really small business detailing cars. And in that, what I used to do is I used to try to make myself different. And so what I would do is I would actually record myself working, and I would record tips of like kind of my strategies and like what I would do detailing cars, and I would post those in my local Facebook groups. And so at the time, this is like 2017, 2018, and nobody else was doing that. And for me, I had a lot of competitors saying, "Why are you giving away the trade secrets?" And I took a different approach to it. So I took the approach of, well, my clientele, they're not going to do it themselves. My clientele is going to hire me. So that kind of got me started. And so I would just try to make engaging videos. And mainly I would go on Facebook Live in my groups, and I would edit little
Wow.
tutorial videos. And so what this would allow me to do is just be engaging with my audience and introduce myself. And while everybody else was posting static graphic ads, I was making engaging live stream videos and putting them in the group. And so that was back in 2017, 2018. And I can say I pretty much built that entire business organically that way. Um, had I gone further, I would have maybe run ads and all that. But that's kind of how I got started. And it was just kind of a passion of mine as well to go out and take photographs of and video of various things. So, but in a business sense, that's where I got started.
Right. And now you have all kinds of cameras and gear and all kinds of knowledge in how to produce content that goes viral. How did that happen? How many years did that take?
You know, it's also interesting, especially with the way social media is now. Like, I had a video, like the most viral video I ever made for a client, was kind of right when I first got started with them too, which is really interesting. And I posted a video with the guy. I think it's up to about 9 million views, and it's kind of hilarious because this piece of content was so informal. Like, it was literally me riding my bicycle with my iPhone camera, holding it up, and going into their property. And so it's just funny to me because it was so informal, and I didn't edit that at all or anything like that. I just put an audio over it and uploaded it to Instagram with a caption. And the thing about that was it went so viral, and I use that as an example all the time. And I think to myself, because if something like that can go viral, how do we know? How do we really know what's going to work and what's not going to work?
Especially with all the like algorithms changing all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that in some ways it is a bit of luck that one video, something about it just kind of triggers the algorithm, and then they show it to more people. And as long as those people keep engaging, that works. But I'm actually just thinking of this. My very first viral video was on TikTok when it first came out, and it was for myself. And I was detailing a car that day, and I just picked up my phone and took a video of myself. And
What were you
the
doing in the video?
the hook was this. I started with $50 in a bucket, and you can do it too. And it was a video of my full van setup that was like, it looked pristine. It had equipment in it and everything. It was like a fully mobile detailing machine. And the I think what was hilarious was that when things go viral, I feel like in a way, some people get really inspired and other people get triggered. And the comments and everything just add to the algorithm. It just keeps going up.
But it doesn't matter, right? Because attention's attention, negative or positive, and
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen the metrics, engagement metrics go up. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I feel like putting yourself out there is the most important thing, and just consistency, because you never know what's going to go viral. And, you might spend a lot of time on something, a video that you're really passionate about, and it might flop. And honestly, you kind of just got to be okay with that.
that's a great point because I actually especially want to say if you're watching or listening right now, I want you to leave this episode a lot more motivated and inspired to create more content and start today. Because every day that's spent not creating your content that represents your business, what you do, your passion, is the most expensive thing you can do because time is the most expensive thing.
Yeah, it is. Like, the longer you wait, it's just, yeah, it's just going to take you longer. So you may as well start now.
Right. You might as well start now and fail quickly so that you can keep learning, right? What has been your journey with that concept, learning, failing? Have you ever felt like you're failing and you had to like pass that learning curve and learn the next thing that would take you to the next level? Because currently you're providing for some of our clients very high performance reels and video content. I want to understand, what was your aha moment with editing or, quality of videos? Or maybe you just discovered you need to just record with this device versus that device, because I know you're using drones, phones, all kinds of things. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think really it's, for me, like in this question, it's less about the gear and more about, like, I started thinking with the other person in mind. And like I just said about how some people are going to be inspired and triggered, it is what it is. But I started thinking with that person in mind of, like, who do I want to be watching my video? How does this engage to them? How do they relate to this? And that was the biggest change because, yeah, sure, there were lots of hurdles with the one client in particular. Our audience always remained the same, but at a certain point we started to narrow the scope on exactly who that was. So I almost started talking to a completely different audience. Looking at the analytics, it was like 70% women viewing the content. So that changed the way that I spoke to the audience. And so, yeah, that's thinking with the other person in mind definitely has made a big shift, and really getting clear on who you want to be talking to.
Exactly. And I think to add to that, the user behavior changed so much that even podcast platforms have become visual. Now we have visual content on every single platform. What do you think about that? I think visual content is now more important than ever. And basically, I think if you're not using your phone, your device, to record visual assets for your business, because in the past, you could do blogs and written content. You could even run text ads. From my perspective as a Google Ads manager, we used to be just fine with just text ads on the search engine. Even Google Ads product is now turning into a more visually supported product. I think they heavily got influenced by Meta ads, to be honest. But that ultimately tells us the user wants visual content now, right?
Yeah, it's going extremely visual. Part of it is, I think, the attention span of people is become lessened unless it's something that they're truly passionate about looking into and reading about. a lot of people don't even read captions anymore on social media. It's very quick, it's very visual, which is why, you know, hooks are such a big thing now, and hooks and ads in the first few seconds in video ads are such a big deal. But again, like, I think there's a lot of power in the written word, and there's also a lot of power in speaking it. And, you know, so if you can incorporate both, I think that's really important. But at a very base level, it's making stuff that's engaging, that's informative, educational, entertaining. And a great example of this, too, is I'm sure you've seen the faceless YouTube and Instagram channels, right?
I see
Yeah,
those. Yep.
it's so visual, you know. So a lot of times, you know, we're afraid to even be in front of the camera. I know I've struggled with that sometimes, and it's like, you know, there's people out there that are making amazing stuff, getting tons of views and tons of attention, and they're not even showing their face.
Right. Yeah, you can go viral basically with consistency and some level of quality of production. But of course, virality does not always equal to profits, and you have to do a couple other things in order to generate revenue from what you're doing. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think of AI? With AI tools generating all these reels for people, and they even have the capacity to add in like some video overlays. Somebody's talking about the universe and the universe pops up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Crazy. So, do you think that with all the most recent developments, people are going to end up setting up home studios and then using AI fully to create these visual assets? Or are we still going to lean into human instinct and experience and precision with production?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm kind of mixed on AI, really. But speaking in terms of 2025 and 2026, I think that personal branding is growing, and it's going to be huge, especially I think by the end of 2025, people are going to see more of the importance in that. And it's not too late either. I just want to say that it's not too late. Even though personal branding has been around for years, it's not too late to get started in it.
It really has been.
But with that being said, because of that idea, I think people are craving authenticity now more than ever. I mean, honestly, I can't even open my Instagram without seeing an AI video that it has me questioning if something is AI or not AI. And so I think that with authenticity, like, us as humans, like, we want that connection, we want that community. And I think that's what other people are wanting in this space too, is like, you know, there's a huge need for creating a community. People want to feel a part of something. And so in a way, I think that AI can disconnect that, but it can also create that, just depending on the interest. And I think it depends on the business as well. But what I want to say about that is, I think, like, for the video editing aspect and everything, like a podcast like we're on right now, like, it can be great to kind of help you scrub and chop through the podcast and find some of the best moments. But to maybe edit a video for Instagram, like, okay, here's the extent of it for me personally. Like, I'll use AI for captions. I'll use AI to, maybe I'll put in an idea that I have and kind of have it elaborate or create me a shot list. And so in that way, I use it as a tool instead of it using me. And I think that's really important. I think it's important how we use it ethically. And again, I think people are craving connection. And you can tell when somebody writes with AI for their captions on Facebook, Instagram ads. You can totally tell.
The other day, I was listening to this huge influencer that I looked up to, listened to for many years, because he's basically hired in the corporate world or at big events to deliver speeches that change your world. And the other day, he was on this big podcast, and my brain detected that he was reading a ChatGPT written script. That's so crazy, first of all, that I was able to detect that. I think humans have this instinct for authenticity. That is one thing that AI will never be able to take away from us. And the second part of it is that I was heartbroken. You know, the only thing that I expected from that influencer or businessman or, this big man out there, I'm so passionate about this, I just hit my microphone. But I expected authenticity from him. And I didn't get that because there's ChatGPT now. And that makes me question, where are we going? If you're using ChatGPT, I would personally say, and I don't know what you think, edit it in a way, it's your voice. It's great to get a baseline, but that's not your sentence. English is my second language, so I don't expect myself to speak perfectly. My audience also doesn't, and they'll know if it sounds too perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. Like I can always tell with the grammar, with the dashes. I can tell what's AI and what's not AI. And you said it was disappointing. And I think that that probably stems from the fact that you looked at this person as like an authentic person with authentic ideas. Even maybe if they got filtered through other people or they were learned ideas, it's still authentic for somebody to be taking that in their own way and sharing that. So I can relate to that. I've had some experiences like that. But
Right.
yeah, like if you're a creator out there, a business out there, and you think your audience cannot see through you writing with AI, you need to like really relook at what you're doing. Because yeah, like you said, it's getting to the point. It's like you can totally tell. And even as it gets better, and even if you use a prompt that has learned your voice in a way, and you're like, oh, make this not sound like ChatGPT. Like again, at that point, like why not just take the idea, sit down and just write and actually write from your heart because people can feel the heart.
So well said. The heart. And that's what AI does not have. That's why I also think that people should be very careful leaning into AI, business owners specifically, for anything, for video production, for their business. Yes, like you said, you're using captions through AI tools, and but there's that human element. Someone like you can take a raw video footage and really spend some hours on it, making it perfect. And AI fails to do that currently. I subscribe to a couple and they can be costly too. But when it comes to results and how I want it to sound and look, I always end up editing it myself, or, I get your help. By the way, at Maxley's Digital, our digital marketing agency, we do provide visual production for business owners. So you can do the recording yourself or get our consulting or full help in creating a studio, shooting podcasts, and then chopping the recording up to, small shorts and reels. And we not only produce this with Garrett's amazing team, we also amplify that content through targeted promotional paid channels. That means Meta ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads. So we send it to the entire internet ecosystem to reach your exact, precise target that you want to target. So the right product, right results, seeing the right people who have their credit cards in hand and ready to purchase. Anything you
Yeah,
want to add to
yeah,
that?
I think you just said something that came to me as a realization. And first off, like we were talking about going viral. And it's almost like everybody wants to go viral these days. And the question is why? Because I think in our mind, we think, oh, it's going to have this certain outcome for our business. And sure, like I was speaking the video I had 9 million views on, our website clicks jumped. Everything, like we had hundreds of messages a day after that, which was absolutely amazing. But it brings me to the next point.
Crazy.
Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to go viral at your current state business? And I think it's something you need to think about. Is the website you have is the branding you have, is everything you like, really what you want to be known for if you do have something go viral. And of course, you can always change these things, right? But in a way, it's like if you're not ready like for that, then you kind of start to build the foundation so you are ready. There's brands I know, there's coaches out there, specifically coaches. I'm just going to talk from coaches. There's coaches out there that have like 700, 1,000, 2,000 followers that are literally making, I'm talking about 40, 50, $60,000 months with coaching clients that they attracted through Instagram, that they attracted through Facebook. I'm not talking about they had some funnel they ran crazy ads on or anything like that, like with huge budgets. I'm like, and so on the contrary, I read a story. There was this influencer who had about 2.8 million Facebook or Instagram followers, and she did a t-shirt launch, and her minimum order for the t-shirt company was 25, and she didn't even sell 25.
Oh, wow. That's so sad.
It is sad, but it also says, with that coach that has like 1,000 followers who's authentic, and somebody who isn't connecting with their audience, who doesn't even sell 25 t-shirts.
Right.
It's just something to think about. With you, Meg, I wanted to ask, because I had this realization, right, that organic content is good. And think about it with community, it works well for that aspect. But I think if you really have the outcome of doing sales, I feel like content needs to be paired with ads to kind of reach the people you want to reach. I mean, can you talk more about that and what you're seeing?
Yeah. I love this analogy in the lines of social media is your garden, and you have to take care of it regularly. But when you're hungry for leads, you go hunting. You don't stay in your garden. And hunting is something that you do with strategy, with tools, expertise, experience. I see paid media, as a paid media person, I see paid media as that hunting portion of life. When you need leads at a certain average order value, you're trying to increase your LTV, lifetime value of your customers. You're trying to drop your cost per acquisition, or CAC, customer acquisition cost, all these terms that I always talk about on this podcast. You have to do paid media. And organic has the potential to reach, a certain quality of community if you do it right, if you are a bit lucky, but you can't leave your business to luck. It's too expensive of a mistake to make. You can't just expect to wake up one day and to go viral with your reel that you posted yesterday. Because what typically happens is you get 2 comments on that, and one of them is your mom and the other one is your cousin that you don't even talk to. And that wastes your time. And like you said, a lot of people going viral, that does not mean that they profited or they sold anything. There's not even a gross revenue from that audience. 2 millions, 3, 4 millions. And we don't even know how many of them were bot followers. But what I've noticed in the last probably 5, 6 years, that a lot of the big names out there with even millions of followers, you might not see that, but they run paid social ads to reach that following too, because paid ads also have that option. Like, you can grow your channel just to get followings, and that can be extremely affordable. And you can allocate a bigger chunk of your budget to maybe things like search engine, something that is more low-hanging fruit, high intent. I hate that term, but I have to use it because everyone understands when I say low-hanging fruit, because your low-hanging fruit is probably Google and Bing. Sometimes, depending on the business, if it's very visual, if what you're selling is extremely impulse, then you want to be on Meta and Instagram. But that is also a high intent strategy. you catch the person while they're scrolling, they stop scrolling and they see your content, they click and go to a landing page and they buy. We want that conversion. And that is not always possible or fast enough with organic. That's the problem I have with that. Paid really buys you time. It buys you data 5, 6, 10 times, 20 times faster than organic. But organic is your garden and you should always have evergreen content. I heard a very interesting comment from Gary V. Do you know Gary V?
Yeah.
This influencer that talks about marketing all the time, and his tone and voice is extremely different, but he's fun to watch and listen to. So the other day he said, it's not called social media anymore. It is interest media. So what you created yesterday in Reels doesn't even matter anymore. People always need the one today. What do you have today to offer? Because the attention span is so short now, they're not going to remember you if you don't have a new reel today. So what you created yesterday is dead. It's not social, it's now interest. Keep my interest up about what you're doing, right? And that's why I think the most important thing this year is production, visual production. That's why everybody is investing their advertising dollars into videos, reels, podcasts, and they try to be on all channels. You have to be creating something every day. And that's something we do. We take away the burden off of your shoulders of editing and making things look really professional and pretty. All you need to do as the business owner is just tune into your creative zone, shoot visual content.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Vee, he talks about, and has for years, about just picking up your phone and hitting record and saying something. It's like, we forget the power of that too. And I think especially as somebody who is getting into making more short films and commercial type media these days, I often forget the importance of the simplicity of, hey, if you're gonna you're talking about your garden, are you gonna wait 2 weeks to, figure out everything before you plant? Or are you just gonna plant and then in that time maybe work on that thing? So I forget the importance sometimes of just the fact that, hey, instead of working on this short cinematic film for 2 weeks that I am not posting at all in the meantime, the importance of just picking up my phone and saying something to my audience. Maybe I still get it out, right? But I'm still nurturing the garden along the way.
I love that.
Just something to think about.
I love that. If you have one point as the overarching message of today's episode, what would that be?
I think it's just really to create. If I could sum it in 2 words, it would just be create authenticity. I mean, that's it. Just create authentically, share authentically, engage authentically. Because again, in a world where every feature is AI, you're going to be the one that's different. And it's this double-edged sword, I think. And I'm not talking bad about AI. I just want to clarify that. I'm talking about the difference in using it as a tool and letting the tool use you and making you the tool,
I couldn't agree more.
In that sense.
I couldn't agree more.
It's years back, if you were using AI or again, there's different brands. There's people that create visuals with AI that's really cool. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the business owners, the brick and mortar stores, the coffee shops, the coaches out there who have something to share, the writers who have something to share. That's kind of who I'm talking to here. You'll never be replaceable by AI, I don't think, if you are in authenticity. I was working on a video the other day where it was kind of this flashback idea. Somebody was doing something and they remembered that the reason that they were doing something was a memory, and showing that in video form. And that's something that AI just simply couldn't replicate if I went to AI and typed in my video edit idea, because they wouldn't understand how to connect that. And the same with writing and copywriting. reading between the lines and the flow not exactly being linear is engaging, and it tells a story in and of itself.
No, that was very insightful. Thank you so much. And I couldn't agree more. I really appreciate you being here today. I think we're at time. I look forward to another episode where we maybe talk about, maybe we take a successful reel out there and we analyze it together. And you tell us what framework they used and what was their strategy. Just reverse engineer that success and many other topics if possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching and tuning into Born to Scale. If you want to work with us, you know where to find us. And there's going to be some links in the podcast description or video YouTube description, whatever platform you're watching on. And stop learning how to do Google Ads yourself or editing yourself. A pro chef wouldn't fix the oven if the oven broke, right? Or an athlete wouldn't do physical therapy themselves. Or they wouldn't be their own coach. You need a coach. You hire an expert to do the job. Stop buying courses that would teach you how to edit videos, do all these things, because you need to focus on your business. You started your business to do your business, not somebody else's job. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.